Guys, good to see you. It's a tough meeting this morning. The somber frustration still there. It was difficult. I thought the practice though was the complete opposite of that. A lot of energy, positive, and so you leave kind of feeling upbeat. I know a lot of guys after the end of practice felt that way. And so it's a big game for us. We have to correct our ills. It's been 2 weeks of losing to the same thing. That's kind of been the thing all season long. And so we've got to get it fixed, whether it's the turnovers, stopping the run, self-inflicted wounds. And our focus has been on that. And we hit that today. We're going to continue to hit it, try to build some wins throughout this week. So that we can get a win on Saturday. Take any questions you guys got.
Dave, you mentioned the frustration. I've heard from some Baylor fans who are pretty frustrated and going, why should we come out? One person told me they're not fun to watch. What would just your message be to the fans?
We've got a bunch of really, really good people in the program that are doing everything they can to get wins. To make it an entertaining product for the fans. And it just means so much when there's fans there and there's a home field environment. And, I just look at the guys that are on our team right now that have been through so much and are just such quality people. Really good football players, but more than that, just quality people. And they're the type of people where maybe if some of the people we're talking about knew them better, would be all for them and would be supporting them no matter what. And I just think for them to have it to where their work is being rewarded with people that got their back in a critical game would be cool. But I understand what you're saying. I can definitely see that.
Coach Mason Miller no longer with the team.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And who do you expect to fill in that position? And how does the offensive line, where do they go from here?
Yeah, it's a personal matter with Mason. And so, my heart and my all of my thoughts and really my best wishes for his future go out to him and his family. It's a personal thing, and we've got we got a group of O-line guys that are kind of analyst type guys that took over the role on Saturday and are aiming to do it again this week and the remaining way through. And the O-line's in a really good spot. That's what's this game that we're in is such a crazy game. And it's just what maybe looks one way on the outside is completely the other way on the inside, and it's just difficult. But they're in a good spot, and they're feeling fired up and motivated and all of it. And so, yeah.
How did you feel like Sean Tompkins?
Really good, yeah. I thought for his first time being out there and the bullets flying and everything, really good. I think one of the bright spots. That along Michael Turner would be two on offense particularly, but I thought Sean really played well. Our penalties were way down. It's probably somewhat as a result of that move, and so a lot to build off of there.
How do you go about kind of keeping the motivation up for the guys and, trying not to let a couple of losses snowball into kind of a disaster down the stretch?
Yeah, I think what happens when you lose sometimes, the frustration sits in, and then you do even less. And so you give less than your best, which that's an equation that never adds up, but I think it's there's something about us, just the way that we're built, that naturally that happens. And then when you lose, there's frustration kind of sits in you, there's a fog, and you end up giving less than your best this time or that, or this practice or this walkthrough or this or that. So you got to be really, really intentional about fighting through that. And so we've been talking about that quite a bit and being really kind of pinpointed with, hey, these are the things, here's what we're doing about it. here's what it looks like when we're doing it right. Here's the accountability piece at the end. So we're very much in that process right now. I feel good about that path.
Dave, a lot of games this season where it's just started slow and then y'all
Yes.
maybe come back and made
Yes.
it a game. How much as a coaching staff you talked about that? How do you
lot.
reverse that trend?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We talk about that all the time. And so we've changed practice 3 times to try to address that. So this is going to be the 4th time coming up tomorrow, And so it's not for lack of kind of trying. I think we've got too many guys that kind of dip their toe in, see what the temperature is and all of it. And, whether it's kind of giving confidence to players or whether it's getting calls in where there's no checks and it's just kind of a play it and you go. We've kind of come back to the same thing. And, it's so obvious when the lights turned on and here we are, whatever time is left in the game. And we need to play a game where when it kicks, that's what's happening. And so very much fighting for that. That is something that's talked about all the time in the building.
How do the slow starts this year compare to maybe previous years when, some of the similar issues have come up?
I think it's more, I think in the past there'd be one side of the ball that would be starting fast, maybe the other side of the ball not so much. I think this year it's too many times offense and defense. Yeah.
Coach, you said Saturday Bryson was being evaluated. How is he?
Looks great. Yeah, good to go. Had the thumbs up today. Yeah, we'll see how it goes throughout the week, but he's good to go. Yeah.
And then one other thing, do you expect to see Carl again this season? I mean, especially with the way DJ and Simpkins have been playing.
We're making a really pretty strong push right now as we speak to get him kind of reevaluated and kind of looked at to try to see if we can get some out of him. I know he wants to. We want to. It's been a frustrating part to a frustrating season so far. And so we're going to try to be able to get it better at the end and see if we can get him involved.
Dave, what do you see from UCF?
They're explosive on offense, very, very multiple. They got really good skill. Special teams is very explosive too. Their returners are really dangerous. Up front, in the past, coach has been really kind of multiple and a lot of line movement and kind of disruptive type stuff. They've got a very big and really good front, and so he kind of lets them go a little bit more. And so it'll be interesting just with the news that came out today and just all the things, how much movement and everything we get. I'm sure that's probably going to spike up a little bit because I think he's got always an itching to do that. But they've got really good skill on offense, really good front people on defense. It's a good team. Yeah, they're coming off a bye.
Is there any one thing that maybe we can point to, or maybe it's multiple things as to why the defense has, in my view, seemingly regressed as far as even scoring defense goes year by year?
Yeah, I think it's been trying to find consistently to where, if it's a run play, it's less than 4 yards, what's the structure? Just this year, we've moved through 3 some structures to try to be able to get it to where we can play fast and adjust to all the things we got to adjust to. Every year's kind of been different. I think we've, a run play for us has been 7 yards. You watch other people, it's been 4 yards. And so to get it to where it needs to be 4 yards has been a task we haven't completed yet.
How much do y'all just need some good vibes, a win,
Yeah, I think so. Very much so. I think, you can feel, we talked about that fog earlier. A lot of times that fog can get you where, hey, it's calling on less effort. It's calling on negative vibes. You can point at this guy or point at that guy. It's him. It's that guy. It's certainly not me. But just a step away is a win. Just a step away is momentum. Just a step away is a winning streak, And so that's very much the case. And so we've identified that and are fighting that right now.
you talk about some of those 4-yard runs for other teams being 7-yard
Yeah.
runs for you guys. Have you been able to identify, do you feel like that's personnel, schematics, a combination kind of,
I think it's a combination. Yeah, I think it's in every game, going all the way back to the Auburn game, there was a run that showed up in that game that they hadn't run, and we repped it in fall camp as a part of, hey, here's everything, here's how you fit everything, here's that, and then it showed up in that game, and we did kind of our normal deal of here's the drawing, here's the video, here's the fits, and we just couldn't get it fixed. Normally you get that fixed, and we just couldn't do it. And I go to this last week. Cincinnati's a really strong stretch zone team. They almost ran nose zone or nose stretch. It was all gap scheme, and we really struggled to get it fit. And it's just that it's the things that in the past maybe haven't been difficult are difficult.
Josh and Jacob, after the game, both kind of hinted that maybe they've shifted some expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Have you?
No, winning. Yeah, we need to win. Yeah, very important to win. I think it's, it's one team, one purpose right now. Yeah.
Dave, there was I know we've slept since then, but there was a 4th-and-1 play
Yeah.
on their drive
Yeah.
to go up 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Did you get an explanation from it looked like y'all had stopped him, and maybe he kept going. I don't know.
Yeah, the guy that was on our sideline said he was on top of a body and was driving his legs to get the extra however many inches. That was what he said, yeah.
Cooper Lands has played a lot,
Yeah.
At a different positions along the
Yeah.
defensive line. What has he meant to this program, just his versatility and
Yeah.
commitment?
Everything. Yeah, the guys love Coop. Coop walks in the room, the whole room, Coop, it just follows him everywhere he goes. That dude has been through a lot, and he's fit into a bunch of different roles. He's sacrificed himself over and over and over again. He's gained weight, lost weight. You want to win for guys like him.
The next 4 games of the regular season, it doesn't really get much easier. How do you motivate the guys to, turn things around?
I think they see that, and they see the schedule, and they know how important it is to win. And so the motivation's there. I think the execution's got to be better, but the motivation is there.
Dave, you said in some situations like this you can point fingers and stuff.
Yeah.
What have you seen from your guys in terms of that?
It hasn't been. I haven't seen that. Yeah, I think it's the core group of guys that we got just aren't going to allow that. That's just not the culture that we got. And so whether it's Omar or it's Sawyer or it's Josh Cameron or it's KT or it's Jackie or it's any of those guys, they've been through the mud and the yuck a little bit, and they know you can easily get out of it, and it's going to take everybody. And so it's a pretty close-knit locker room in there. There's no room for that.
And is it hard to block out the outside noise?
We talk about that all the time too. Yeah, it's I think it's a part of the game, and I think you have to be so intentional on your own process and kind of what you got and where you're falling short, and talking about a coach or a player, and what you're going to do about it today and how you're going to improve right now, that there's no time for any of that. And that's just difficult because I think, everyone's got their phone right on, in their pant leg, and so you just kind of have to keep reminding and really keep harping on the process.
With UCF coming off that bye week before, big win over West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
just in what you've seen, do you feel like maybe they could be coming in here playing their best ball of the season?
I think so. I think they're kind of a scheme-driven team, and so there's a whole bunch of lines going a whole bunch of different ways when you watch them, on offense particularly, and so I think they're very much identifying people and weaknesses and attacking that. I think it's more that than, hey, this is kind of what we do. I think that is in there, but not as much as some of the other teams we played. It's very much stuff that's being cooked up just for a certain team.
Jacob said, all we got is the guys in the locker room.
Yeah.
Does that kind of go back to what you were saying about blocking out all the noise, but just this is who we got, that kind of
Yeah, I think they, you know, the team is a close team, and the team believes in itself, and they're as frustrated as everyone that we're talking about, and you know, they want success, and their care factor is very strong, and they know though that it's only going to come by working together, and so that's very much a mantra that you hear out in practice, what you just said right there.
Coach, how do you talk about self-scout a lot, or you have in the past.
Yeah.
How do you go about evaluating maybe your game that you have called in the past as the defensive play caller?
Yeah.
Is that something that you and Howard sit down and talk
Oh,
about, or
yeah.
how do you go about evaluating
Yeah,
that?
we have our offensive guys look at that, you know, and so they'll look and see, you know, which calls were, you know, out, you know, in the view of like, hey, these are productive calls, or we've got numbers at this point of attack, or we don't, you know, and so you kind of get a grade, you know, every week with that. So you're very, very detailed with that. I think that's something that I think you have to, because I think it's very important, and so you have to be willing to see the good and the bad and the ugly.
So
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
you
Dave.
guys.